All right. Hello and welcome everyone to our International Student and Family Town Hall. My name is Bobby Lynn Kekik, and I'm the Director for New Student Programs. Today we'll be sharing information regarding our international student experience on our university campus. Throughout our presentation today, you are welcome to submit questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We will cover approximately 15 to 20 minutes of content and then open it up to your questions. We are recording the session, so you'll be able to access this presentation at a later date on our Bentley Orientation YouTube channel. And you can find it by Googling it, comes up right at the top, or by going to our website, which is bentley.edu/orientation, and you'll be able to find the direct link there. Please note, if you are watching this as a recording, you are welcome to email us directly with any questions that you do not find the answers to in this presentation. And lastly, if there is something that we're unable to answer throughout this time together, we will work to get you those answers. So please feel free to email us directly so that we can work with you to find that. All right, let's go ahead and get started with some introductions from my colleagues from the Center for International Students and Scholars.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brittany. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a senior international student and scholar advisor here in the CISS. That is our shortened form for the Center for International Students and Scholars, and really excited to be able to present to you all today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sam Bohr. I use he, him pronouns, and I am an international student advisor at the CISS, and I'm also very excited to meet you all and present this morning.
Okay, so here is our agenda, some things that we will be going over today. An overview of CISS, who we are, and a little bit of what we do. Next, we'll talk about visa acquisition and regulations, and where kind of CISS advising ends and where it's best to contact someone in your local US Embassy or consulate. Also some tips around getting a visa appointment. And then last, as BL mentioned, the question and answer, which I hope that you all have some good questions for us to talk about today. So yes, Center for International Students and Scholars, CISS, that is us. We are an office of 4 people. You see our pictures here. Anna Garson is our director. Next is me, a senior advisor. Sam is also here, Sam Bohr, who's an advisor. And then Teresa Lamoureux, who sometimes goes by Terry. She will be the first person you contact often when you visit us in person. And she may have been in contact with some of you via email. So some the facts and figures about the student population, international student population at Bentley. We currently have over 1,000 international graduates and undergraduate students, as well as students on OPT. An OPT is a work authorization that students on F1 visas can apply for, usually during their last semester. And so we are a unique office in that we get to work with you before you arrive at Bentley, while you're here, and even up to 3 years after you leave Bentley. So we definitely are with you for the long haul. Students on OPT are not Bentley students anymore, but they still stay in contact with us for advising purposes, about immigration things, and also, kind of general things in life. Right now, our students are coming from over 75 different countries. That's exciting. So, hopefully you'll find somebody who might be from a place where you maybe you're a citizen or have been local before. Please definitely reach out and ask. 14% of the undergraduate population are international students, and 23% of the graduate population are international students. One other unique thing about CISS is that, as you see, we work with both undergraduate and graduate students. So you'll have opportunities to meet some graduate students who can kind of help you along the way, maybe think about what your next steps may be once you complete your degree at Bentley. So how can CISS help you? First, we do have the I-20 issuance and visa acquisition, So we are partnering with the Office of Undergraduate Admission in issuing I-20s this year. It's our first year doing it. I'm very excited. So some of you may have received emails from me or colleagues in CISS. Others have received communications or their I-20 was directly uploaded to their Bentley Connect portal. All of it on the back end takes a lot of coordinating and conversations. We asked you to submit certain documentation so that we could issue your I-20. And the I-20 is just us saying that we reviewed documents and we believe that you should be eligible to apply for the visa. We do not issue visas. I really wish we did. Maybe that will change in the future, but right now, all we get to do is issue the I-20 and then give you some guidance on visa acquisition. So once you get your I-20, please go ahead and schedule your visa appointment with your local US consulate or embassy as quickly as you can. If you are a Canadian citizen, one thing to note, you do not have to apply for an F1 visa. So you don't have to make an appointment at your consulate or embassy. All you need to do is have your I-20 in hand and a valid passport, which is valid at least 6 months into the future to come into the US. For those who are not Canadian citizens, you do need to make an appointment. Sometimes it may seem like an appointment date is far out, still book it. And I recommend and encourage you to go in every day and look for appointments. It can seem a little tedious, but things happen all the time. People get earlier appointments, people have to cancel appointments at the last minute. So don't be deterred if you don't have an early date right now. Just keep going back and looking in. The last thing for your visa acquisition for your appointment is to think about the fact that the F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa. So you really want to make sure that you can show strong ties to your home culture and your home family, your home country, so that there is a reason for you to go back after your degree. That is really important for you to be able to demonstrate when you are in your visa appointment. So if you still have family in your home country, that makes sense. Maybe there's a family business that you might have hopes or aspirations going back to, or maybe you've had some internship experiences or work experiences that you hope to take, your studies that you complete in the US and then apply the knowledge once you go back. You can definitely mention that during your visa interview. We also help you with adjusting to life in the US. This we do in collaboration with the new student programs during orientation and maybe a little bit beyond this year. There are some things that change. Many of us in our office have adjusted to life in a different country before. We've been local or studied other places. So we know what it's like to be somewhere new. It's a different culture you're getting used to, a different school system potentially if this is your first time studying in the US. We are here to give you some tips for when you begin, and then we're also here for you to reference and come back to along the way. We are also here, of course, to remind you about immigration regulations and travel guidance. They changed very often at the beginning of the pandemic. Now that we are, I'll say, in the middle of the pandemic, they've kind of leveled out and are pretty much the same. But this is one reason why it's important to check your emails from CISS, from everybody at Bentley, but particularly from our office. We really try to make our emails as concise as possible and also to not email you too many things. So, if there might be many different notices in an email, we also try to make sure that when we're emailing you as a student, that the information pertains to you. So you're not going to get an email from us about information as if you are a graduate student or if you are, have on OPT and having graduated. So keep that in mind. Again, our website does have a lot of information and updates about immigration regulations as well. And as always, you can contact us about these things. Employment authorization, I already mentioned this a little bit around OPT. Sam, do you want to share a little bit about CPT?
Sure, happy to. So CPT stands for Curricular Practical Training, and it's the training, the work authorization that you're able to do while you're a student, whether you're an undergraduate student or whether you're a graduate student, you're able to do to work while you study. So in order to be eligible for CPT, you have to have at least one academic year of full-time study under a valid visa status. And we can explain more. There's more information on our website detailing that. But CPT, you're able to do that in the fall, spring, or summer semester and session. And the way that you apply for it is that you talk with your academic advisor about an internship course that you're able to enroll in. And this is, you do this once you secure an internship or are able to find a job. And then once you're able to find a job and register for an internship course, you can submit your application and your offer letter to CISS and we'll approve it. And then we'll issue you an I-20 that includes your work authorization. There are some requirements on as to how many hours you can work and how many hours you can work in CPT status before it affects your OPT status. But that's pretty much a summary of CPT. Did I miss anything, Brittany?
No, that's great. Thank you. And we want you to keep that in mind. So it's good to, as a student coming in the fall, you'll be eligible for CPT probably beginning your summer semester. So the summer of 2023, you will need to work with your academic advisor to make sure that you're eligible as well. But we like to give you just, again, a taste so that it's not brand new information you're hearing in the fall. One other fun thing about employment authorization is by virtue of having the F1 visa, you are able to work on campus up to 20 hours a week. So we will definitely help you with that process. You will need to apply for a social security number that we will help you with as well. And help you navigate, applying and when to apply for on-campus jobs. So if you're interested in that, come by our office, definitely happy to help. Resource referrals. So I like to talk about how in the US higher education system, websites are really useful. I love the search button on the website. So you'll definitely hear me reference that a lot. But sometimes it can be confusing which office handles which type of inquiries. So, CISS, again, can always be a home for you or a central location. Any office on campus will do the same. Just know that if we are referring you to another office, we try to explain why you need to speak with these other people to handle a certain situation. So for example, if you have a question about registering for classes, we will definitely refer you to academic advising. We can help you a little bit, but that's definitely their expertise. We want to make sure that we connect you to the right people to give you the most up-to-date information. The last piece on here is about programming, and I just wanted to share a little bit before passing it off to Sam again. At CISS, we do have programming. Some of them are informational around work authorization, as we mentioned, so CPT, OPT workshops. We also try to connect you with different offices on campus so that you understand their function before you may need to go visit them. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, sometimes around certain holidays. So we really like to acknowledge and celebrate international holidays. One that comes to mind for me that I really love is the Lunar New Year. And we will usually have sometimes a table out front. We've partnered with University Police before to give out red envelopes that did have a nice little gift inside. So, maybe look out for those this year. And so different events like that, we will have, social media posts, but also we like to take a moment and really be able to connect with you all and share a little bit about what we know about the celebration and also hear how you may observe a celebration. Sam.
Sure. And yeah, one of our other programs that we do is called the Worldview program, and it's been around since 2017, so almost 5 years now. And the Worldview program is an international student speaker series. It's a really cool program in which international students apply to be ambassadors And basically, as an ambassador, what you're doing is sharing your perspective, sharing your worldviews, and your stories and your experiences from your home culture and home country with the Bentley community. And the goal of that is for you to be able to have a platform to share your experience with the Bentley community. And it's just a great like intercultural exchange and a great way for Bentley to just become more global. And so the Worldview program is they're invited into like classrooms and offices and different campus student organizations. And there's usually like a topic that is chosen for each session. And it's like in a panel format, kind of like what we're doing now. And then, so the topic is chosen and the Worldview ambassadors are invited into the classroom and they kind of have this discussion on a certain topic. So some of the topics in the past have been sports culture in different countries, which has been really interesting, health issues, social issues, issues around different laws and regulations, as well as discussing business practices in other countries, as well as animals in society, like how different societies view and treat animals as pets. So yeah, it's a really great program. There's a great community within the Worldview program. We had about 30 ambassadors this semester, and we're always looking to welcome more and new members. So you should be receiving an email about the Worldview program when you arrive. So look out for that email and hopefully we'll see you in the panels.
Thank you. All right, on to some more visa information. So this is just a timeline of how things kind of happen once you get your I-20 to arriving at Bentley. So I'll read each point for you. So once you submit your financial and passport information to admissions, which I believe all of you have done so far, you will receive an electronic I-20 form, which is Bentley's recommendation for you to receive an F1 visa. That's a fancy way of saying, you submit the documents, we issue you the I-20. Yes, it is electronic, which is great for us. Before, we used to FedEx them to you, which also worked great, but email's much faster. So we email you the form, we ask you to print it out. It's 3 pages. The last page has a lot of information that when you have time, maybe when you're traveling, take time to read, share it with maybe your guardians, parents, but otherwise print out the form, and then above your name, there'll be an X with a line. We ask you to sign that, and you will see a DSO, that's what we call ourselves, designated school official, who has also signed that document. The next step is, your visa issuance. So that is determined by the US consulate or embassy abroad. The main visa application form is called the DS-160. You will receive further instructions with your I-20, and appointment wait times and processing times will vary by country, as I mentioned. The instructions that you will receive will be a CISS welcome packet, and that will also be sent to you via your Bentley Connect. And there are detailed instructions about what information from the I-20 need to be used to apply for your visa and complete the DS-160. One thing to point out is that I believe there's a fee to actually submit the DS-160, and then there's also another fee. The US likes to, I guess, give obscure names to things. This other fee is called an I-901 fee, also called the Ciss fee. And Ciss is this database that stores all the information on your studies while you're in the US. So remember that those 2 things, you must have those completed before you get to your visa appointment. The next point is that the F1 visa is in your passport. So that will be a page in your passport. It's a sticky, kind of cool, fancy sticker that gets put into your passport. That's your visa so that you can use to enter the US. One thing to point out, if you have another valid visa for the US, that remains the same. Just be sure when you enter the US that the officer knows that you're coming in on an F1 visa, because that allows you to study. If you have a visitor's visa that does not allow you to study, we can easily correct it if it's gets mixed up, but it's nice to remind them. So when you come into the border, you'll show your F1 visa in your passport and also your I-20. And it's used to request admission in F1 status once you arrive at the airport or US land border. You will also need to carry proof of vaccination to enter the US testing requirement. The testing requirement was lifted as of June 2022. So with that information, I would say you can look for the CDC, and that is the US national regulations on entry into the US. There's also Homeland Security, I think, would have information. And last, but probably the most accurate, will come from your airline carrier. So when you book your ticket, you'll most likely get an email that tells you what some requirements may be for you to enter the US. If you traveled maybe in the last couple of months to the US or otherwise, you may know that some countries do require you to test for COVID and provide a negative test before entry. That is no longer the case in the US. But keep in mind, if you have a stop at another country before arriving in the US, be sure that you look up what that country's entry requirements are. And again, if you are flying, your airline should provide that to you. One other thing, so you've heard me say F1 visa and F1 status. F1 visa, very tangible, something you hold in your hand, it's in your passport. F1 status is kind of this thing that floats in the air. All it means is that once you use your F1 visa to enter the US, you are in F1 status. That's all it means. You are, studying, and you maintain that status even when you leave the US and come back. As long as you come back on your F1 status and you are still working toward completing your degree, you're considered to be maintaining status, we call it. So your F1 status stays intact. And we'll share more about this, of course, once you arrive. And then lastly, keep your I-20 as proof of your F1 status, like I mentioned, throughout your studies, and any postgraduate work authorization, such as OPT. You will need to follow F1 rules and regulations. We will go over the rules and regulations. They're not as scary as they sound, I promise. We try to make them as simple as possible. And we always remind you of any changes or important ones as they apply to you. So as students coming in, the most important is that you enter in F1 status. Make sure they know when they see your I-20 once you come into the US. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. Yeah, that's really it. So here are some regulations to keep in mind. As undergraduate students, you will be expected to study in person. So we look forward to seeing you for this upcoming academic year of 2022. You should plan to arrive for orientation. If you're not able to make that date, please do contact CISS. Right now, the latest date that you can arrive is the end of that first week of classes. But please do everything you can. Again, I encourage you to look for updated visa appointments if that is what's keeping you. If there's anything else that might be keeping you from arriving on that date, email CISS and let us know. We may have some more tips to share, and it's just good to keep us updated. That's great that we can work with you and also your academic advisors to see what your options may be. You must be registered in a minimum of 12 credits, which is about 4 classes. You will not have no problem having this your first semester. You'll definitely work with an academic advisor who will make sure that you're registered. You probably will be in more than 12 credits, but just keep in mind that is the minimum. You cannot work off campus, as we said, without work authorization. So the earliest you can work off campus in most cases will be by summer 2023. So in the meantime, come speak with us about on-campus work opportunities and enjoy your time as a student and getting to know others on campus. And you are students first, so focus on getting acclimated to the schedule here and the study schedule here. F1 students must complete a mandatory F1 immigration registration process upon arrival in the US, and then keep CISS updated with any changes of address or personal information during studies. This again sounds a little scary. all of this can actually be done electronically. So we have updated our system where we'd love to see you come by to our office if you'd like. However, we will send detailed instructions via email for you to complete all of this via email. So you will complete a form, you'll access another form online called an I-94, which just shows us that you entered the US in the right status. You'll upload that, send it to us, and once you hit submit, it's like no news is good news in this case. If you don't hear from us in a while, that's fine. If you hear from us, just respond to the email, clarify some things, that's fine. On the right side, you'll see some acronyms that I'll go over. So we have Fcbp, which stands for the Student and Exchange Visitor Program. They are the governing body that works with Ciss, which is a database underneath it. So SCVP helps with interpreting government regulations and policies related to students. Exchange visitors are usually people who are studying on a J1 visa. You will definitely meet folks on campus who are studying on J1 visas, and you may have classes with them. They have just some different regulations and policies to follow. So we have separate immigration sessions, but a lot of our other programming opportunities will be together. So Ciss, as I mentioned, is called the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. It's again a fancy name for a database. We thankfully have a nice other fancy system that speaks with this database. And when you submit all of your documentation, we enter your information, and then it produces your beautiful I-20 that you get to take to your visa appointment, and then that you'll carry with you when you come into the US. One other point about your I-20, you may get more I-20s along the way during your time at Bentley. Maybe your major changes. For you all, when you declare a major, you'll get an updated I-20. Please save all of your I-20s. We will give you, once you arrive, a really cool envelope that you can keep everything in, and just, keep it all there. And then if you need to refer back to it, that's fine. But just remember, all the I-20s that you receive from us, keep them in a safe place. Lastly, I mentioned this already, but we, Sam and I, are DSOs, as well as Anna and Terry, who you saw, and several other admissions officers in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. That means that we are designated school officials. See us as advisors who have access to your CVIS or I-20 record and can help you with any needed changes. So as this mentions as well, your address in the US, you'll be asked to update that through a system at Bentley that thankfully talks to all these fancy databases and also talks to CVIS. So you only have to update it one time. And if it changes, we ask you to update it within 10 days. But DSOs, we have special training so that we know that we're providing you with the most up-to-date information as possible. And it also gives us some knowledge on how to vet information. So if you ever receive any information from anybody, please do, please feel free, I should say, to run it by us, and we can help you to know if it's accurate information or if it's a little fishy. Lastly, contacting us. We have our website, which again has a lot of information on it, but we do encourage you to click through and go through it. There is a section for new students, but soon you'll be current students. There's a tab for you all as well. And then there's a tab dedicated just to work authorizations, and then to some of the forms that we have. We are becoming, I like to think, kind of a cutting edge office. So in that, reducing our carbon footprint, a lot of things are electronic. That allows us to process things faster and keep a better track. So definitely contact us via email as well. That is one of the best ways. This general email, we all have access to it in our office. So all four of us get to see the emails. So just know you're emailing one email. You may hear from 3 different people at the time, but we do speak to one another, and we keep notes so that we know exactly what's going on with you. Our phone numbers here is listed as well. We're in the office during the summer, going down to the bottom, from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also during this time, during the summer, we have Zoom advising hours from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Every time you receive an email from us, at the bottom, you'll have a link to our Zoom advising hours. So they're also listed on our website. But if you ever forget, you can just send us an email. We're happy to send you an email back, and we can highlight where you can connect to the Zoom advising hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that is all we have for you right now. Please let us know if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you both so much for sharing all of that information. I know that it is definitely a lot to take in, and so we want to make sure that we're giving an opportunity for our students and family members who are joining us today to ask any questions that you may have. So I'm going to pause for a moment so that folks can go ahead and put those in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And while we wait for some of those questions to come in, we did have an option for folks to submit any questions using our registration forms. So the forms that you all filled out to join us today. So we did have a few questions that came through. So I'm happy to start there. And then as more questions come in, we can go ahead and add to that. So one of the questions that we received through our registration form was about our campus safety and security. And so wanted to make sure that we could provide some information and some resources for folks to continue learning and engaging in that topic. And so one thing I would share would be for folks who are looking for specific resources to be able to take a deeper dive into. If you were to go to our Bentley website, so just going to www.bentley.edu and search University Police, you will find a lot of the resources that I'm about to share with you there. So that way you're able to take a deeper dive and just look at some more of those. You can find that there. But when we received this question, we actually reached out to our chief of police here on campus just to make sure that we were connecting with those experts. As Brittany mentioned before, we will also reach out to our campus partners to ensure that we're sharing the most up-to-date information. So in regards to campus safety and security, our chief of police, Frank, actually has his daughter that attends Bentley as well. So he was sharing with us that, you know, having his daughter here, and as a parent, he feels very safe personally around how we support our campus community. So let me share a little bit about what he offered up. So he had shared some data with us that in a recent survey, 98% of our community reported that they feel safe on our campus. I think this is in part due to the fact that we have a certified police department. It is not just a security team. Our university police staff works closely with our local police department, which is Waltham. And they are an accredited agency, so they go through many different trainings to ensure that they are up to date and have the safety protocols in place to be able to secure our community. They work really closely with other local affiliates. So whether that's in Boston, whether that's with our FBI agencies in Boston. So again, just making sure that we have a close connection and network, not just on our campus community, but with surrounding areas as well. Thinking a little bit more specific to our campus. So our buildings, especially the buildings that our students would be living in, our residence halls, they are always locked. So for our students, you've received some emails about our university IDs, our Falcon cards. Those are going to give you access into the buildings that you're supposed to have access to. So just want to make sure that folks are aware of that, that you do need that ID and that those buildings are locked and only have access to those who should be entering. In regards to understanding what might have happened on our campus, if there's any crime, if there's any events that happen, our university and all universities are actually tasked with submitting annual reports. And so there is it's called the Cleary Manual that is on that website that I shared, and that will outline anything that has happened on our campus. We are very fortunate that there is not a lot reported in there with our campus being safe. With that being said, these are, the things that are happening that are reported. Based on what our students have reported, our international students have reported that they feel safe. One thing that they have shared is that the greatest threat are actually phone scams for money. So as Brittany mentioned, if you are getting requests for information or if you're getting things that just don't feel right, please make sure that you are connecting with CISS or honestly any of the staff so that we can help to support you to ensure, is somebody asking something that's legitimate? The last thing we want is to have folks get caught up in some sort of phone scam, whether that's a text or a call. We want to make sure that we can help to direct that if you have any questions. And I would say too, our university police, I know that the idea of police can look and feel very different depending on where you are across the globe. And so would like to offer up that University Police works really closely with our Center for International Students and Scholars and other campus partners to make sure that there's open communication, to make sure that we are all staying connected. There are many other resources. We have a text system that that people can sign up for that allows you to receive notifications if anything is happening on campus. There are, as I mentioned, other reports, there's different courses that you can take. So there's a lot of information and resources, but we just wanted to kind of share and reflect that back, given that we did receive some questions. So with that being said, if you want to dig into this deeper, please do go to our website and just search University Police, and those different reports and different resources that I referenced can be found there. And of course, we're happy to continue the conversation as well. We just wanted to make sure that folks had that information, knowing that that question was asked in advance. All right. There was another question that asked, will we get our IDs on September 1st? And the answer is yes, as long as you have submitted your, as long as you've submitted your photo through my photo online, then your ID will be here ready for you to receive. If you have not done that yet, then we will direct you to the card office to be able to get that photo on move-in day, and then you will get your ID then. I know another question that was asked on the registration form was about involvement in clubs and organizations. And so I just want to give a little plug for our students. When you arrive on campus, you will connect with many upper class students. So please feel free to ask them directly, what are they involved in? What do they enjoy doing? Because I think they'll be able to give you some more advice from the student perspective. But one plug that I did want to give is the Friday during the first week of classes is our activities fair. And this takes place on campus. And this is your opportunity to go and meet representatives from all the different clubs and organizations to see what you might be interested in. For those of you who are not playing a varsity sport, but are interested in playing, we have a really strong group of folks who play either club sports or intramural sports. They get pretty competitive here on campus. So even if it's not a varsity level sport, there's still opportunity for you to play if that's something you're interested in. All right, do we have any other questions that we can answer for you live? Or Brittany, Sam, are there other questions that you traditionally get asked that that we have not answered today that might be helpful to share?
I think we've shared enough for today. You'll hear some of the same information again once you arrive, but the new information that we share will make much more sense once you're here. So, focus on getting your visa if you have not yet and arriving safely and having fun. So looking forward to seeing you all soon.
Wonderful. Well, you both did share lots of information, so I'm sure that that they'll be able to go back and view this and see if there are any additional questions. And yes, we did get one question. This recording will be shared, so by attending, you'll receive an email that will have a direct link to our YouTube channel. But then whether it's this recording or any of our previous town halls, or we have a webinar series called Falcon Live Chat for our family members that covers a variety of topics, from living on campus to health and wellness, to academic advising. You can find all of those recordings on our YouTube channel as well. Well, I just want to thank Brittany and Sam again for joining us today and talking through all of this information. I feel like every time that we host this, I learn something new. So really appreciate you both taking the time to engage with our family and students. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email us. We'd be happy to continue the conversation. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you here in the fall. Thanks again, everyone.